was shut off. And as a result of their financial crisis, the children's appearance and clothing began to reflect their circumstances. A caring teacher, fearing the children were victims of neglect, contacted social services. A visit to the home revealed the circumstances under which the family had been living. Children's Services and the Sheriff Department gave the family 72-hour stipulation to have the gas restored and additional food placed in the refrigerator, or they would return and remove the children. The gas had been turned off for 5 months, and the local utility company required $950 to have this service restored. The family did not have the resources to meet such a demand and feared their children would be removed. Catholic Charities was contacted. The utility company was paid in order to keep the family together, and staff made arrangements for the family to obtain adequate food for each month during the father's recovery. This is a real case of Catholic Charities. This is what I call a Catholic Charities family. The scenarios that present themselves to us are scenarios many of us cannot imagine happen to families day in and day out across America. So we are here today to talk about those who have been living on the back streets of America for some time. And we're here to talk about the new and possible upcoming residents of the back streets. Those families who will be forced onto the back streets by the negative trickle-down effects of the recent economic crisis in this country. Catholic Charities agencies across the country know well the struggles of low-income families and what their lives look like on the back streets. Long before the national economic crisis, poor and low-income families in this country have been nearly invisible in their struggle to survive in America. And now, potentially millions more will be added to that struggle and join them on the back streets. Who lives on the back streets in America? It's really quite simple. No expensive research studies are required. They are families unable to generate enough income by whatever means to maintain their household. They may be non-employed for various reasons. They may be employed and underpaid. They may be employed as part of the disposable workforce and subject to layoffs, or employed with variable hour part-time jobs. They may be collecting unemployment benefits or receiving some public assistance. They may be self-employed or entrepreneurial in some way to make extra money. And they often move in and out of all of the above. But the fact remains, backstreet families are simply unable to generate enough income to maintain their households. It's essential that we appreciate that backstreet families are families first, with whatever that means to each one of us here today. The difference is that they suffer and struggle every day due to insufficient income in ways those of us gathered here do not. For example, when income is not sufficient, then families are forced to make extremely difficult decisions between basic necessities like rent, heat, food, car repairs, medications. When income is not sufficient, families find themselves in a constant state of debt, disadvantaged by bad credit, dogged by a stream of late fees or reconnect fees and bill collectors. When income is not sufficient, then compromises are often made regarding child care arrangements. And families often live with the threat of Child Protective Services removing their children for neglect. When income is not sufficient, then families often endure health problems related to poor nutrition, stress, poor and dangerous living conditions, or untreated medical problems. When income is not sufficient, then families have inadequate refrigerators, stoves, vacuum cleaners, cleaning supplies, personal hygiene items, the things that make up the essentials of home life. And most critically, when income is not sufficient, then parents and their children fear the worst, that they too may become homeless and have nowhere to go. So what should we do differently as the population of families living on the back streets grows and changes? First, I suggest we can begin by being honest about the number of households that require government assistance and community support in order to meet their basic needs. Because we can argue about how unemployment and poverty rates are computed, let's look instead at a recent national survey that showed that 1 in 5 households last year was late paying electric or gas bills. I'd like to suggest, though not scientific by any means, 20% then of all households is the real percentage of families in the United States who are living on the brink of life on the back streets. Secondly, we need to recognize that the demographics of backstreet families is changing. At my agency, we have past donors who are now coming to us for assistance. We have families, in order to prevent their homes from being foreclosed, are standing in our food lines. Past preconceptions of poor or low-income families are being shattered now, as millions more join the ranks of not enough income to support the family. Instead of focusing on poverty as in the past, we need to focus on a self-sufficiency standard for all families in America and provide the resources and programs necessary to achieve that standard. And these discussions, as has been said, must center on jobs that pay a livable wage and 30% of family income for affordable housing. In regards to the economic recovery package now being considered here in Washington, I think we need to pay attention to a strategy proposed by Congressman Jim McDermott from the state of Washington. In reference to reforming unemployment insurance, he supports, quote, cash in the pockets of struggling families who will spend this money in their communities supporting local jobs and businesses. I suggest we hold on to that concept, and that, like heat, money floats up, benefiting those in the lower socioeconomic strata of the country as it rises to benefit others along the way. This strategy is radically different philosophy than a single-focused direct bailout to Wall Street. Finally, as public and private agencies strive to meet the needs of this expanding U.S. population, we must all gear up and focus on the most basic needs of millions of families: housing, food, and medical care. Nonprofit agencies and churches cannot bear the burden of need created by a national economic crisis. There must be a much improved partnership between government and nonprofit agencies with more direct funding streams and less government bureaucracy. For government resources plus nonprofit expertise and accountability and mission equals cost-effective results. In conclusion, unfortunately, it will be the families, perhaps once on Main Street, who are now headed to the back streets due to spiraling unemployment, that will tell the story of family life without sufficient income. The country will listen to them. So the time is now to garner public and political support and push for changes in U.S. social policy that will promote economic stability for all families in America. Thank you.